Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Pastor Frank DeMora, and the author of the book The Last Chronicles of Planet Earth, which is a documentary on how Bible prophecy is being fulfilled. You can get this book by going over to my website today, endtimesresearchministry.com. You also can get it by going over to demoraministry.com or BibleProphecyMan.com. And once you're there, just scroll down and you will see all the different chapters that are in the book. One of the chapters that I have in the book, you'll see chapter 11 here, Invasion Against Israel. Now what I do in the book is I'll give you the scriptures that I'm going to be talking about in this chapter. And in this particular chapter, it deals with the invasion by Islamic nations that will try in the last days, and as a matter of fact in the book of Ezekiel it says in the latter years, try to annihilate the nation of Israel. And right in the opening in Ezekiel chapter 38 verses 1 through 6, you'll see the names of these aggressive nations that will be heading from the northern quarters to try to eliminate the nation of Israel. One of these nations is the nation of Turkey. So if you were to look at a map and outline all of the nations that are mentioned in Ezekiel that will be coming against the nation of Israel, you would see that it's almost surrounding the nation of Israel, but the major headliners will be coming from the northern quarters. We know this both in Ezekiel 38 and 39. And Turkey is directly north, coming from the northern quarters down into the nation of Israel, at least trying to go all the way down. But we know from Scripture in Ezekiel 38 and 39, God is going to meet the enemy in the mountains and destroy them even before they get into Israel proper. I'm giving you this news now so that you'll understand what's taking place currently with these very same nations that are listed in the Ezekiel war. Because one of the major players, Turkey, which I personally believe that will be leading this assault from the northern quarters, is calling for the nation of Israel to be invaded, as we see in Ezekiel 38 and 39. There's an article that came out yesterday from the Jews News, and that was May the 17th of 2018. 57 Muslim nations urged to besiege Israel with a united Islamic army. Now, before I let you hear this article, I just want to close it in for you so that you have a firm grip why this is taking place. Why is it taking place? Well, number one, you have the Islamic religion against the Jews who believe in their God. And we know by Zechariah the prophet that Jerusalem would be the major problem in the last days, that burdensome stone, as it's referenced to in the scriptures. And we know that in 1967, the Israelis recaptured East Jerusalem, of which the Temple Mount area that you see right here is now in control of Israel. They actually own it, but it's being run by a staff from Jordan. But for the Islamic State, that's not good enough. They want not only to run it, they want to recapture it and own it and wipe out Israel completely. And that means get rid of the Jews. This is the reason why they're trying to form an army of 57 Muslim nations to eradicate the nation of Israel. Now, why would they need so many nations to come down against Israel all at the same time? Because Israel has fulfilled another prophecy that was told to us in the book of Ezekiel, in chapter 37 of Ezekiel. The chapter just before, it talks about this invasion coming from all these Islamic nations. And in that 37 chapter, it talks about in the last days God will be bringing the Jews from all over the world. They will live again as a nation again for a second time. And when that happens, they're going to form a mighty army. And that's exactly what has happened. Israel has been coming home from many different countries around the world in these last days. And since 1948, the rebirth of the nation of Israel, they have formed an army and an air force that is rated one of the top-notch armies in the world. And these Islamic nations know that if they went down against Israel independently, they would lose. They tried it in 1948. They tried it in 1967. They tried it in 1973. And those wars against Israel all failed. So in the minds of the Muslims, and especially Turkey, who is trying to put this together, they're looking for a joint force to come against Israel. And this is what will happen. So now, let's take a look at what this article said.
A Turkish newspaper close to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his ruling party is urging 57 Islamic nations to build a joint army specifically to attack Israel. Notes a new report in Joseph Ferris G2 Bulletin. The Middle East Media Research Institute reports the article appeared on the paper's website under the title, "What if an army of Islam was formed against Israel?" It was published shortly ahead of a summit of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which has 57 members, Memri reported. The article notes, Memri said that such a joint army will greatly exceed the Israeli army in manpower, equipment and budget, and presents statistics to prove this. It also advocates establishing joint bases for the Army's ground, air and naval forces that will arrive from all over the Muslim world to besiege Israel, while noting that Pakistan, as the only nuclear country, has a special status among the OIC countries, the report said. Memri explained that many of the major points in the newspaper article were taken from the website of the Turkish Sadat International Defense and Consulting Company, which provides consultancy on defense and warfare, both conventional and unconventional, and on military organization, training and gear. The company has an agenda of promoting pan-Islamic military cooperation, according to its mission statement. It seeks to establish defense collaboration and defense industry cooperation among Islamic countries, to help the Islamic world take its rightful place among the superpowers by providing strategic consultancy and training services to the militaries and homeland security forces of Islamic countries. The article states, it becomes evident that the member states' joint military might greatly exceeds that of Israel. Moreover, in a possible military operation, this superiority can be realized on the ground by setting up joint military bases for ground, air, and naval forces.
So in short, 2 weeks ago we saw coming out of Turkey, President of Turkey, Erdogan, trying to conjure up a massive force that would attack Israel to wipe Israel out and to retake East Jerusalem and that Temple Mount area and own it exclusively. In other words, drive Israel out. Then last week we saw primarily the same type of article come out trying to bring this Islamic force together. And here again, when it talks about Turkey and establishing this military, as you can see from this last sentence in this paragraph, moreover, in a possible military operation, that joint military might greatly exceeds that of Israel. So they believe that if they can come together with this organized Islamic force, that they can wipe Israel out. That's essentially is what they're saying in this article. And once again, that's exactly what we see in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 in the warning that God gave to us that Turkey would be involved with this massive assault on Israel with many Islamic nations. Put 2 and 2 together, and what do you have? You have the prelude to this Bible prophecy being fulfilled. It is a warning from God way in advance before this attack comes. You have a choice. Believe His word or reject it. But either way, you're going to witness the results, and I don't believe it's that far off. I want to take a look at now another prophecy, and it has to do with pestilence. I covered this a couple days ago, but I'm going to cover it again because we see more news in the news. And I want to point out pestilence, as you see in Luke 21:11, because this is one of those many signs that were going to happen all at the same time in one specific generation, and that's our generation. And over these many years, I've been warning how the diseases were going to mutate and start jumping from birds and animals to humans and so forth, and it was going to cause major problems. And if you did a Google search, you'd come up with a list similar to one that I just pulled up. I Googled Frank Demora and diseases jumping, and this just came up, but there's a lot more than that. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because if you know prophecy, you know what to expect in the future. And here we are in 2018, and what I was writing about back then is actually the worry now. Yesterday, Newsmax came out with this article entitled, "Pig Virus Found in China and Ohio Could Be a Threat to Humans." A pig virus found in China in 2012 and Ohio in 2014 could threaten humans. Researchers found when they studied the virus in a lab setting. The porcelain deltacornis virus, PDCOV, was not even thought to be a disease when it was found in China in 2012, Newsweek reported. In Ohio in 2014, it was causing severe diarrhea in the animals that was sometimes fatal. No other animals have been affected by the virus except for some birds, but scientists think it could be similar to SARS and MERS outbreak that have killed over 1,000 people in several outbreaks, Newsweek reported. Ohio State University Department of Veterinary Prevention Medicine experimented on the virus and found that it invaded cultured human cells and other cells in the lab, which shows potential for the virus to jump to humans or other animals. The study does not definitely prove that it will do so, Newsweek reported. We're very concerned about emerging coronaviruses and worried about the harm that can do to animals and other potential to jump to humans, Ohio State professor and study co-author Linda Sharif said, Newsweek reported. If the virus could find the receptor on human cells, it could potentially make the jump, Health Day News reported. A receptor is like a lock in the door. If the virus can pick the lock, it can get into the cell and potentially infect the host. Lead researcher and Ohio State professor Scott Kennedy said. Now I remember some years ago they wrote articles similar to this about the disease jumping from birds to humans, and of course that wasn't supposed to happen, and look what happened. It definitely took place. And as the years go on, we're seeing more outbreaks, more weird strains that are indeed affecting people. So it's something definitely to watch for, because we've already seen it jump from birds to animals and birds to humans, like the bird flu. And especially when the Lord shows us in the book of Revelation, for example, that millions of people are going to be dying from diseases. So whatever strain it is, we know that it will definitely show up. That brings me to the Daily Caller, a report about Ebola. And the reason why I mention this is because someone made a comment at my site, and they asked, why do you think that a lot of these diseases are coming out of Africa? Well, the answer to that was fairly simple. It was because the animals that have this type of disease live in Africa. And that's where it usually begins, where people are affected by the animals who live in those territories. So this article entitled, Ebola Outbreak Spreads in Congo and the Death Count is Rising. I told the people a few days ago to keep your eyes on this situation, because one of the cities that it hit first is a transportation city, a major hub. And when you move people around in different areas who may not even know they have this disease, that is a potential for spreading it even further. According to this article, this is what it says. Ebola has spread to a major city in Congo, and the death toll is rising rapidly. Congo officials have reported 23 are dead and that there are 42 confirmed cases on the deadly virus. First discovered close to Congo's Ebola River in 1976, Ebola is a deadly virus that spreads by direct contact with bodily fluid. It can spread to healthy persons from those who are infected or those who have died from the virus, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. Scientists believe the virus originated in bats. Following reports that the virus had exited in rural areas and moved to an urban area, the World Health Organization, who sent a massive supply of an experimental drug that has been shown effective in ridding victims of the virus, who sent roughly 4,000 doses of the vaccine to the northwest region of the Congo where the Ebola outbreak originated, indicating it will continually spreading medicine as needed. So this is a repeat of what we saw the last time in Africa when it started off small and then it just got really out of hand. And many people in Africa died because of Ebola. And right now it's spreading, so we need to be on the watch and see what happens and how fast they were able to contain a disease that a lot of people may not even know that they have it because it resembles flu symptoms.